who was to be a part of a high-level initiative run by business and military planners to investigate the ecology and population of Pandora, was Jake's deceased twin brother. Jake claims Jake and his brother are genetically identical. Thus he was given the option to take up his brother's job with a corporate military organization and relocate thousands of light years away to an outpost on the world of Pandora. Jake visits a scientific lab where he meets two Avatar program members, biologist Norm Spellman, Joel David Moore, and Dr. Max Patel, Dilip Rao. This information is revealed as Jake sees his own avatar for the first time. Jake will be able to move and breathe air once more in his avatar body. When Norm informs Jake that his avatar resembles him, Jake ponderously replies that it resembles his late sibling. The program's science lead, Dr. Grace Augustine, Sigourney Weaver, wakes in a specially made pod that ties her to her avatar and flicks up the lid just as Jake and Norm go into the science department. She informs him that while she needs his brother Tom, a PhD who spent 3 years training for the Pandora trip, she doesn't need Jake because he has no lab experience and has never been connected to an avatar. Jake and Norm are first connected to their avatars the following morning back in the lab. With other avatars and personnel, Jake's avatar awakens in a separate room. Grace's avatar, who is calmer than the real Grace, welcomes Jake and leads him to the barracks, where he is eventually urged to take a nap. In a subsequent encounter, Jake meets Trudy Chacon, Michelle Rodriguez, a veteran Marine pilot with whom he will spend many weeks familiarizing himself with his avatar and exploring Pandora. The Colonel promises to see to it that Jake receives the surgery required for him to regain use of his legs if Jake can learn what he needs to know about the natives, how to convince them to leave the unobtainium or deposits and how to hit them hard if they won't. Jake, Grace, Norm, and other passengers on Trudy's gunship fly across Pandora's surface after being relinked with his avatar. Then, the Thanator looks at Jake. The Thanator roars above Jake as the hunt finally ends at a waterfall ere Jake dives to safety. The animals attack Jake, he fights back, kills some, and is taken down by others. Jake attempts to thank her for helping him fight off the attackers. The next scenes revolve around Avatar Jake's training with Neytiri and human Jake's reports on his experiences via the video log he dictates after every day's activity. To the Tree of Souls, the most revered site for the Na-6, Jake, Neytiri, and the others ride together. The Na-6 term for a big, vividly colored flying mountain banshee with homicidal intents against everything that flies is Torek. As Jake and Neytiri are flying on a hunting mission, they are unexpectedly chased and assaulted by Torek. Neytiri takes Jake to the Tree of Voices, a site of worship, where they utilize their chance to form a connection with the tree. When Jake finally awakens, he climbs atop one of the bulldozers and tries to stop it, eventually breaking its camera system and drawing some gunfire. Jake is preparing to join with his avatar at their remote location. After learning that Jake and Neytiri are permanently mated when he and Neytiri were engaged, Tsute attempts to assassinate Jake out of jealousy. The ties between Jake and Grace's avatars and their real selves are abruptly severed by the irate Colonel, who arrests Jake for attempting to stop the bulldozers, causing both of their avatars to fall comatose. The Omaticaya, who are getting ready to fight against the humans, who have come in a sizable fleet of flying ships, have tied both Jake and Grace and left them behind. Suddenly, Jake and Grace return to their human form and are immediately detained for treason after what seems like infinite carnage. Trudy enters the room where Jake, Grace, and Norm are being held. With the Torek, Jake has successfully formed a bond. Jake accepts his new position as Torek Mato from Tsute, who is now the head of the tribe. In order to save Grace, who is dying, Jake persuades Moat. Although the ceremony is unsuccessful, Grace informs Jake that she has seen Iwa before she passes away. The attack is scheduled for the next morning at 6 o'clock and is intended to target the Tree of Souls. He stresses that people destroyed their mother, Earth, the being responsible for maintaining the balance of life, at the Tree of Souls, where he bonds with the tree using his cue and requests that Iwa check into Grace's memories. Colonel Quaritch's dragonfly ship pursues and shoots at Jake, who is riding a Torek, Trudy arrives and fires on the Colonel's command ship. Neytiri's Banshee is shot down and killed. Norm's avatar is fatally wounded and transforms back into a human. Sute attempts to take on the bomb ship but is killed in the attempt, and Trudy perishes when her ship is sunk by it. Neytiri rejoins the battle with many other Pandoran species following her, delighted that Ayla had heard Jake's cry for assistance. As the military's ground forces withdraw in confusion, Jake and his Taurak ascend to the air to engage the bomb ship. Quaritch, who is determined to kill Jake, is now being attacked by a Venator Neytiri had bonded with and rode to the location. Jake shows up in his avatar before the Colonel gets a chance to assassinate Neytiri. The Colonel removes the plastic canopy from the suit after Jake breaks it, dons a breathing mask, and asks Jake how it feels to have betrayed his people before heading toward the structures housing the pods. Time to wake up, he teases, slamming into the mobile lab as he searches for Jake's pod with the intention of killing both it and the human Jake within. In an effort to kill Jake by cutting his throat, the Colonel now pulls Jake closer to him and grabs his knife.